Okay, we are live. I hope you guys can hear me all right. I've got my exhaust fan overhead and my oxygen concentrator on, so hopefully my voice will carry through. Let me know if it's a problem, please. I probably won't be able to watch too much of what I'm doing, on the video to check any comments and stuff, but I'll check periodically. So welcome to everyone. I hope we have a nice group today to see how I make these little floral head pins. There's a bunch of different styles, different flowers and leaves, and they are just on a piece of copper. You can also do this on stainless steel wire. I have a handout, but I don't have like step-by-step or anything, but I do have all the materials and tools marked on there so that if you do become interested in doing this yourself, you'll know what kind of tools and supplies you need. So there's lots of different variety. You can pretty much do what you want with these. You can't make them too enormous, but you can have a lot of fun with them. These little head pins are just a little dollop of glass on top of these. You can make these also with enamel. For those of you who work in enamels, you can make these little balls like that in enamels too. Let's see. And then there are leaves like this. And to get a leaf like that, you need to have a tool that you squish the little hot ball of glass in, and this has got little veins on it. I don't know if I can show it to you very well. Maybe this way, okay. And I'll demonstrate how you use this as we go along. But this is a little leaf masher. At least I think that's what it's called, a masher. And I have one flower masher or molder, whatever you want to call it, that makes these pretty little bellflowers. This one I brought home with me from Murano when I was in Italy a few years ago. They come in lots of different sizes, different petal counts. This is a 6 petal, but they have 5, they have 8, and so they make different size flowers as well. So this is kind of a cool tool. They're not easily available in the US, but I believe Spiral Arts in Washington, I think it's Washington State, that carries them. But they don't have them all the time. But that's kind of cool. However, somebody posted online a picture of some other kind of flower mashers from Bulgaria. So I ordered 2 of them, but they won't be here for probably about a month if I'm lucky. So I'm looking forward to getting those. Those are less expensive. They're a little bit different style, but I thought they'd be kind of fun to kind of play with. They're a lot less expensive than these. This is a real quality tool though. Okay, so I have that. Let me see if I can point the camera down here on my tray without having the phone fall out of its holder. Bear with me here. Let's see if I can see those things. Okay, so on my tray here, I have some wire straightening pliers that are kind of nice to have. You don't have to have them, but it's kind of nice. I cut up a bunch of 18 gauge and 20 gauge wire And sometimes it's kind of curly, you know, from being on the spools. So it's easier for them to fit into the pin vise, which I'll show you next, if the wires are straight. And this is a pin vise right here, this little object. They come in different styles, and they have this little, I forgot what you call it. It's not a chalk. I don't know. It's one of these things. I forgot the name of it. But you insert your wire in there, and that way you can hold onto the wire. These don't get hot in your hand. They also have a large mambo size. I picked this up at a lamp working class some years back, that you could put the long mandrels in there too, but it tightens up so that you can put a little piece of wire in there as well. I guess it all just depends on what's comfortable in your hands. So I'll demonstrate them all. Okay, so then I have some different frit. This is crushed glass in 104 COE. That's the only glass I use is 104. There's all kinds of really pretty mixes available, and I'll show you how that's used as well. That I used on this pink flower. I put pink glass on this, and then I rolled it in some of that frit, and I used this little, I guess it's like a little Chinese soup spoon or something. I put some frit in there and then just kind of roll the glass in there. But there's all kinds of different little low bowls that you can use to put your frit in. And now that I think about it, I could have used one of my little enamel dishes. The little trinket dishes would work on there as well. And then I've got my didymium glasses. These are clip-ons. I use these all the time when I do lamp working because the torch has so much glare, and you want to protect your eyes. So this is a must if you're going to work with lamp working. So I just clip those on some cheaters, and I'm good to go. Got to take care of your eyes. This is optional. This is a marble roller. Well, no, not a marble roller. This is just a round bead maker, similar to a roller, bead roller, but this one's got little grooves in it, so you have your little gather of glass on the end of the head pin, and then you can put it in here and twist it around and round out the shape with that. So, but you can let heat and gravity in a slow turn of your hand to get that effect as well. So it's just a matter of what you want to work with. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Deb, a collet. Paula, thank you. A collet, that's what that is. I just couldn't think of that word at that moment. All right, so hello to all you guys. Where did I get the clip-on ones, the didymiums? This was from a company, when the Bead and Button Show was still going on in existence, they had a vendor called Whale Apparatus, and it was, I think it's WALE Apparatus. I bought it from them, and I have never been disappointed with them. So, you know, you can just flip them up out of your way when you don't need to use them, and they're pretty handy. I think at that time I probably paid about $60 for them. They're probably more, just like everything else is these days. So they are a good thing to have. So let's see here. All right. Okay. Hello to everybody that's just joined us. Okay. So I'm going to turn on my torch, and first of all, I have to reorganize and get this stuff out of the way. And then I'll light the torch and we'll get rolling. I have my kiln next to me on the side of me. And as I do each of these head pins, I will put them into the kiln. You can, if you don't have a kiln, you can use a crock pot set on high with some vermiculite, or I'm not crazy about vermiculite as a medium for that, but you can use it, just not the real fine stuff. You want it a little more chunky. Or you can you can use what's called annealing bubbles. That's what I have in my crock pot, but it's only intended for really small pieces of glass. Anything that's got some mass to it really needs to be annealed in a kiln for strength and sturdiness. So, but you can make some of these little small things and use a crock pot. So it's an option. Just keep them small. All right, so I've got things lined up. I've got some glass in front of me. On these pedal makers, I use the 20 gauge wire instead of 18. I prefer 18, but for these mashers, I have trouble getting a thicker wire in this slot. There's a slot here, if you can see that. And the wire, once you have your thing of glass on here, the wire goes through that slot. Well, this is an 18 gauge piece. Let's see if I have a skinny one here. The wire goes through that slot. It did real well on the 20 gauge. So I'll show you, the process as we get there. But the wire with the ball of glass goes through there, and then you get it centered, and then you smush it down, and then that forms the cup of the flower. So, so that is how that works. But I am excited to try the new ones whenever they come in. I'm thinking maybe I'll do like a little review of them when I get them, so that way you'll know what I think of them. But I have a feeling they're going to be fine. So, and if any of you that are watching do this kind of thing and want to chime in and give little suggestions, go right ahead, because I'm not an expert at this. I haven't made them that many times, but I've seen some lovely ones out there. So that's another fun thing to do. So when you use a pin vise, if you don't know, I keep a pair of just old grody needle nose pliers with me whenever, especially when I'm working with hot stuff. And there's a little opening where you insert the wire in there, and you just push it down. And sometimes it's a little bit stubborn, so I just take my pliers and push that wire down. Just give myself a small area to work with. I don't need too much. And then this particular pin vise has a little collar, and you just push that up so this doesn't move. There is the other pin vise that I have. This one is a twist, and you untwist it to open it up and put your wire in there, and then you twist it tight so that the wire doesn't move. Same principle with the big kahuna here. You can open that up, put your wire in, and you're ready to go. All right, so I'll do a couple of them, and then I'll stop and look for any questions that you guys might have, and I'll make a few of each kind. A few flowers, a few leaves, a few balls. All right. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my torch. I'm going to put my glasses on. And I'm going to position you, hopefully, properly so that you can see. Turn off my oxygen. Turn on the gas. Turn on the oxygen. And get the kind of flame that I want. All right. Okay. The one thing that's kind of important is you don't want to keep the heat too much on this wire because you can burn right through the wire and your glass blob will just fall off. That's happened more times than I care to admit, but it's just a matter of really paying attention and keeping that really hot flame off of that wire as much as possible. In the beginning, you have to warm it up a little bit. Let's see here. I've got yellow right here, so I'm going to use that. And I'm going to warm up my glass. And I'm kind of just feathering it in there to warm it up without shocking it. Just enough to start getting the glass warm. The yellow kind of changes to orange as it gets hot. So I'm just going to, can you guys see, hopefully? I'm just going to put a little dollop of glass right on the end of that piece of wire. And just kind of turn it around. And see, I'm getting a little blob. You want to keep your pin moving, otherwise the glass will just droop down. So you want to keep it moving around. Keep it warm but not too hot. Here's where I could use that little bead roller here. Just put it in the groove there, and that just rounds that out real nice. So you get a perfectly round little ball. Now I'm going to put some frit. I've got some frit in this little cup. I'm going to warm this back up again. Glass has to be hot for the frit to stick. I'm just going to roll that around in the frit. Cooled off already, so I just re-warmed a spot. And the frit's going to melt in. I'm keeping the head pin turned, turning it around. And you don't want to stay on the frit too long because you can actually burn it. But as it cools, you'll be able to see the color change in this. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this in the kiln. And this is what I'm using my utility pliers for. I'm just going to release that little collar and then just pull the wire out. Just like that, and I'm going to put this in the kiln. When you're adding additional pieces into the kiln, you want to make sure that you don't lay the fresh piece on another one because they will be tacky, sticky for a little while, maybe 5 minutes or so. So you want to make sure that you put them in carefully, and then after they're in there for a while, you can kind of move everything over, even on top of each other, and then they won't stick anymore. All right, so then we'll go on to another one. I've already got this one loaded. Let's pick another color glass. Well, let me get my frit ready, because you want to have all this stuff ready and available when you're working with hot stuff. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of frit in this dish, or spoon, whatever you want to call it. So I have this ready for when I need it. So let's pick, I'm going to pick a purple glass to go with that. There's a couple of gals in our group, Jennifer Nolan and Sandy Johnson. They do wonderful, wonderful lamp work, floral beads. They're wonderful. You can, Jennifer's made, her skills are very, very good. She can make pears, and she makes earrings with these, which is kind of nice. The wire's on here already, so you can just snip it down and loop it, do a wire wrap loop, and you can hang them as earrings. I tend to never get two the same, unfortunately. It's a skill, you know, it's a skill. You need to devote a lot of time to this to really get good at it, just like anything else. All right, so I'm getting my purple. The true color of the glass doesn't really come out till it's cooled down, but you can get an idea. Get my frit and roll that in there. Get it on all sides. Heat it up again, because it gets cool that fast that it doesn't stick to it very well. You don't have to put frit if you don't want to, but it's kind of cool looking. Gives a whole different effect. This one, purple. You've got a little piece of purple stringer. Melt all these little pieces of frit in there, and a couple that are still kind of knobby. And see, you can keep it pretty round on your own with keeping the right amount of heat and the right amount of movement, keeping it round. All right, so I'm going to put my stringer on here, and I'm going to pull this flower up. Just make a little bud like that. Nothing fancy, but it gives it a little bit of a point. You can see as it's cooling off, the colors come out pretty nice. This isn't quite even. All right. All right, so I'll take that one out. And, ooh, this one got hot. There we go. The end of the wire's not hot. It's actually kind of good to work with more than one pin vise, so that way if they do get hot, you can use another one while the other one cools off. They're very inexpensive, maybe just a couple of bucks, so it's nice to have extras around. I tried to feed this in from the bottom, but that doesn't seem to work very well for me. So I think this is the only way, at least for me. All right, let's do, well, I put a 18 gauge pin in here, so I think what I'll do is one more of those little flame looking buds, but try to make it a little bit larger, a little longer. This one I'll try to add a little extra glass on it to make it a little bit longer. Get your glass rod hot all the way around. All right, I don't dare get too much more glass than that on there for fear of it falling over. Round that out a bit. Well, of course, I didn't follow my own rule by getting frit laid out. You shouldn't do this, but I'm doing it. Shouldn't go into a plastic jar because you've got hot molten glass, but I'm being very careful not to touch the plastic. It's better to have it in a dish, though, really. Melt this all in. You could leave it a little lumpy if you like that too, where it's not quite all the way melted in. Like a little Dairy Queen. So it's kind of fun with the making the little bouquet. You can make a lot of different shapes to go in there if you want. Where's my? Oh, here they are. All right. See how pretty that color comes out as it starts to cool. All right, now put this in the kiln. Got a squeaky kiln door. All right, now let's do one of those flowers. We'll do the this flower press right here, and then we'll do a leaf. So now I need the 20 gauge wire for this press. You still need the pin vise, the same deal. Got my wire all boogered up here. Now let's just do another piece. Of course, I mixed up my 18 gauge and 20 gauge on my tray because that's how I roll. All right. So, got that on here. Straighten my wire with the old fingers or wire straightener. Let's see here. Let's do a pink. Pink. Get my frit before I forget. The one thing I don't like about these spoon things is the long handle on them, and I seem to tip them over more often than not and spill everything. So that's not really the good thing. Okay. Just make sure you have a lot of clearance. Where's my wire? Okay, here we go. So this one, we're going to use the flower press. I have a hard time finding good pink glass that's not like outrageously expensive. At least in 104. I don't know if there's other COE glass that has nicer colors in it, but I don't use it, so it doesn't really do me any good. But for some reason, pink is very expensive. A good pink. There are lots of lesser desirable pinks out there, in my opinion. Also, keeping the wire straight, straightening it out before you put it in the pin vise is important, because otherwise when you're turning the handle of the pin vise, it can be all wobbly if your wire's not straight. So just keep that in mind as a little tip. All right, so gathering my pink. And it's kind of, I can't tell you how much glass you use for something like this, for this flower, but you'll find out after you do stuff a few times if it's not enough, if your flower's really puny, or if it's too much glass, it kind of hangs over the edge of the flower press and doesn't really mold too nicely. So it's really just kind of a crapshoot, really, until you figure it out. But, like I do for everything, I eyeball stuff. So now see, I didn't have my press in my left hand and ready to roll. All right, so here we go. I've got the press, and I'm putting the wire in the side, and I'm pressing it down and lift, and then pull the wire out. And you have the flower, the beautiful pink flower. You can kind of kiss it into the flame just a little bit, just to get any, what they call chill marks from the tool. They'll leave kind of a, I don't know how to describe it, other than a chill mark. It leaves like little waves, kind of. So that's a flower. And then you could put
if you're prepared, you could put a little drop of yellow or white in there in the center of the flower and melt that in very briefly so you don't melt your flour. But I wasn't ready for it. So that's a flower. And this goes into the kiln. All right. Maybe I'll do that again. Get another one here. I think I'll stop for just a minute and look at questions or comments, if there are any, and then proceed. So I'm going to look at my computer here. Oh, good, Sandy. Sandy's on. She makes beautiful flowers. Cindy, I do not teach in-person lamp work classes because I don't feel I'm good enough for that yet, or if I ever will be. But there are lots of people, depending on where you are, I'm sure that can teach you in person. A pin vise, yeah, a pin vise, Carla, will be so much easier to twirl with. Then I've made lots of the enamel ones, and it's fine for that because you're dipping into the enamel powder and then just kind of turning it around. But I think with this molten glass, it's a little bit trickier. Yeah, Sandy, you're using the 22 gauge stainless, and which I have here as well. It really depends on what you're going to use. This is, of course, it's backwards. I'll put that in the references after today. It just really depends on how you're going to use these flowers. If you're going to incorporate them in a design with copper, then you'll want copper wire. But if you're going to do something in silver, then the stainless would be the way to go on that. So it's just a matter of knowing what you want to do with them. So, but I know I got this wire on Amazon. It's easy enough to get. So you can play with either one, and I don't think it was expensive either. All right, let's do one more flower. Sandy, you've got the, I think you've got a few presses from Bulgaria, and how do you feel about them, if you want to share that? I mean, I'm thinking they're probably going to be just really good. They're a little different handle. They're like a plier handle on them, but I would think that they would be pretty okay to work with. But if you want to let me know about that, I'd appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to put this frit away. I just like to dabble in a lot of different things, and seriously, I don't put the time in to learning something and really mastering something as much as maybe I should. But I don't know. I'm okay with it. So I guess it all just depends on what you want, how good you want to be at something. All right, let's see. I know in the lamp work world, there are so many marvels that people make, such skill. It's just mind-boggling how good they are. But that's not me. I just like to play. So I could leave this right at this if I just wanted to have like a little bald head pin. I could leave it right at that stage and take it off the pin, or I can make them better. Bigger. It's kind of nice to have those in there just for a little bit of variety. So I'm doing another flower with the flower press, and then I'll do a leaf, and I don't know. That's probably plenty for this one. Of course, I didn't put my frit out. Keep that warm while I'm doing this. Alright, get my... Oh, this is going off balance a little bit. I may lose this one. I went down the wire a little bit. We'll see if I can save it. Alright, put that in the press. And give it a squeeze. Pull it out of the press. Give it a little kiss in the flame. And we have another flower. They're fun. I think they're really fun. I suppose I could play around with this petal and maybe try to pull out the petals a little bit, reshape them a little, but I won't do that live for fear of embarrassment. All right, take this one out and put that in the kiln. It's really quite simple. It's just a matter of having all the things. You just really need all the things to make it work. Okay, put that away. And then I'll get some nice leafy green, maybe. Okay, some little, these frit mixes are really a nice way to go. They're already prepared. They have all kinds of color schemes, and I don't know. They're just nice. I can put those in the references as well. I hadn't really thought about doing that, but I will do it. All right, so I've got some green glass here. I have my leaf press here, or leaf masher. Sandy, is that what they're called, a leaf masher? I think that's what they're called. So I have that ready. I have to put some wire in my pin vise. And this I'm going to use 18 gauge for. But like I said, it's whatever gauge you're comfortable with. 18 or 20 is what I prefer. I see Sandy likes 22. That's okay. It just depends on what you're doing with them. If you're making bigger ones, though, bigger flowers or leaves, I'm just wondering if a heavier gauge wire would support them better or have a less of a tendency to burn off. But that could all really just be skill. So that's what I'm thinking. It's probably more skill than anything else. So warming up my glass, got my pin warmed up, or my wire. Put my little gather of glass on there first. It's, to me, working with glass is just mesmerizing. It's very relaxing. As long as you're set up for safety, I mean, that's a huge, huge thing. You've got to make sure that you're not going to catch anything on fire or burn yourself or whatever, as much as possible to prevent any of those things from happening. You could do this on a hothead torch also. You don't have to have a lampworker's torch necessarily. So, that's a consideration. A hothead torch on one of those canisters of gas, or cylinders of gas, I should say, that you can get at the hardware store. They're quite noisy, but they work. You could do that with a crock pot. Sandy, if you're still there, can you give me your take on using a crock pot for this size glass? I would hate for people to do this and then have their pieces crack because they, didn't get annealed, or, that method wasn't very good. But if you're there still and you can chime in about that, I'd appreciate it. Or anybody that is, if you're on and know about that, share the wealth of information. All right, so heating this up real nice. Dip it in the frit. You can put as much or as little on you want. It's just a personal preference. There's no rule. And I've got my leaf masher right here. So I'll be ready to go when this is all melted in. I have a tendency to work too hot in the flame, which means being too close instead of farther out. It's just a bad habit that I have. And when you do that, sometimes you end up burning your glass because it's just too hot. Okay, so this is going in here, and squeeze. And I have a nice veined leaf right here. Get that little heat right there. And that's pretty cool. All right, let's do one more of those. Where's my tube? It's probably not a bad idea to have not a pot holder, but maybe a rag or something, a towel that you have damp, that you can hold on to these hot things with as you're trying to get them off of the pin vise. Okay, so let's do another leaf. This one I'll do. This is a rod holder. When your glass starts to get short, it's nice to have this little thing to still be able to use those short pieces of glass. So All right, where is, okay, this one's pulled off. Get another piece of wire. Straighten that out. Warming up my glass so it doesn't go flying all over the place. Sometimes if you put the cold glass rod in, it just kind of breaks apart, and it kind of gets shocked, and then it sends little shards of glass all over the place, which is something you don't want to happen. Sandy, if you're there still, when you're done, when we're done, if you could post a picture in the group of the flowers that you made most recently, I'd appreciate that. I think everybody'd like to see that. Sandy makes lots of different shapes and colors and bouquets and just all kinds of cool stuff. And she sells her work as well, so I think she has an Etsy shop or something. So I'm all for promoting that if she's interested in that. Or if you guys like these and you don't want to get all the stuff, but you'd like to have some of the flowers, I would say visit Sandy's shop, and I'm sure you'll find some beautiful things. We need to help promote each other, so that's fine by me. All right, so this one is kind of an ivory color. And I think put this in the same frit that I just used. Alright, these are starting to get melty. I'm really trying to stay conscious of not keeping that flame on the copper pin itself. Alright, that's melted enough. Squeeze it in the press. That one I'm a little crooked on. I've got one droopier end than the other. Then I'm going to take and heat up this end. This may flub, but I'm going to try to pull this up a little bit. Make the point of the leaf a little more pronounced. Just put a little nib on there. He's a little cockeyed though. This side's a little longer than the other. All right. Yeah, he's really cockeyed. To me, it's not worth trying to fix these. It's just, you know, if they're really off center, I would just make a different one and not stress over it. All right, I'm gonna look at to see if there's any. No, I'm gonna have to look at my laptop because comments aren't showing up on my cell phone. You know, Suni, I don't think I can make hearts that way. I mean, maybe somebody could, but I don't think I could. Maybe I could. I haven't tried it. But there again, the lobes of the heart would be on the bottom. I mean, not if you're putting it in a little vase as a bouquet, but if you wanted to make an ear wire, an earring, excuse me. If you wanted to make an ear wire from something like this, an earring from something like this, if you had a pair that matched pretty well, you would just cut some of this wire off and then form a loop, and then you'd have an earring. A heart, the lobes of the heart would be upside down. So if you were using it as an earring, but as an addition to bouquet, that'd be pretty cool if I could do that. I don't know. All right. Yeah, Dawn, I agree. It has to be, I think, very tiny. Wow. All right. Sandy says the Bulgarian mashers have very small slits. Okay, so I may have to change even from 20 gauge to 22 or something like that. That's really not an issue. Oh, good. Thanks for putting that up there. Yeah, I have quite a bit of glass diversions for it too. Okay. All right. Any? Oh, hi, Jerry. Jerry's another lamp worker too. Yeah, unless you guys have any other questions, I don't know if you want to keep watching me make headpins or not, but basically that's all I know how to do is a few shapes and the leaves. Sometimes I get lucky with the leaves and I'm able to twirl them a little bit nicer, give them a little bit more dimension. Sometimes not. Just sometimes the little balls like this with some frit on them, they look cute in an assortment, in a bouquet, even the solid colors of the flowers are nice. And basically all I'm using are opaques, but you can work with transparent glass too, and you can get all kinds of effects. So there's, well, this is a transparent underneath the frit on this one. So they all have nice little qualities. And, I don't know what exactly you would do with them other than incorporate them in a design or something if you wanted to do that. Or I like to just have a little base of them on my work area. They make me happy to look at them. So, I think that that's kind of neat, to just have a little bouquet like this. All right. Well, Jerry, as far as how you make a necklace with it, you'd have to probably have some kind of a necklace made with chain
like a chainmail, or not necessarily chainmail, but links of a chain, and then you can just kind of wind some of those wires in there, or just cut them, make loops and cut them off and hang them on there. I think, you know, Fran Carrico, she's another group member and another lamp worker, and she makes some beautiful lampwork flowers that she incorporates in necklaces and stuff too. So you might want to check out her work. You might learn something, you know, something to do. I know, Jerry, I know you know Fran. So, yeah, Mary, you could probably make a nice pin, nice brooch with all those flowers in there. So I think there's lots of things possible. It's just a matter of your creativity, you know, what you want to try. So, all right. Yes, happy is very important, Deb. Sometimes we're just not happy enough. Not enough opportunities to be happy, but we need to be. All right, guys. I don't have a clue what I'm going to do next week. I'm kind of running out of ideas. I know I've said that before, and I always manage to find something, but truly, I'm kind of at a loss on some of the stuff. So, anybody who's in the challenge, the design challenge, I hope that's coming along for you. That you're working on them. I got mine completed a couple nights ago, and I'm glad that I'm done, because after I sat there and looked at the contents of the kit, it's like, who the hell put this kit together? It's like, oh, that was me. But you know, I'm happy with the way mine came out, and I was able to use all of the elements, some of all of the elements in my design. But if it's making you crazy, that don't get yourself crazy over the design. Just have fun with it. Just whatever you do, just try to stretch out of the box a little bit. You know, that's really what this is all about, is kind of just stretch your creativity a little bit, and we'll come up with it. My grandson got his done. He's so proud of it. So I'll be posting his along with mine, just because he did a good job. I had to help him on some stuff, but it's totally his design. A few things were not really not really doable as far as from a wearing standpoint, but he decided he was making his like a light catcher sort of thing that you'd put on your rear view mirror rather than a necklace. So it works. It will work fine for something like that. So anyway, got to encourage that creativity. All right, guys. Do we have any other questions? Okay, Monica, you get busy. I know you said you were pooping your pants when you first got it, and honestly, you know, when I first saw that, it's like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I thought about it for a while, and I'm okay with it. So, all right. If you guys have any other questions or whatever, just let me know, and I'll keep you posted. I will post these little guys that we did just now later on when the kiln's off, and to show you what I did. I know sometimes it's really hard to see what I'm doing on a cell phone. I really can't get the close-ups that would really be helpful. So, but doing the best I can with what I got. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining me. I always enjoy you being here with me. And if you have any other feedback or anything that you want to add about today's demo, feel free to post it. And Sandy, post your stuff when you get done. Post a picture of some of your flowers. Anybody who's a lamp worker and has done flowers, please post them on the page. Okay? All right, take care. Bye-bye.